crying to somebody else. So in this case, he went crying, I guess, to Dixie Carter. And Dixie Carter, because she doesn't have to worry about money because her father is a multi-millionaire. She calls an attorney in Beverly Hills, California, with offices in New York, by the way, according to their letterhead, and they send me a legal letter saying, you have issued terroristic threats to Vince Russo. And that is contrary to statute such and such, a federal code in such and such a country. You know, you can read it on JimCornette.com. Go to Cornette's commentary. You can read it verbatim. But basically, you know, I never said I was going to kill him. I just said I wished he would die. I have dreams of killing him. But last time I checked in the United States of America, it's legal to dream about doing shit that you'd like to do, but you know you aren't going to do. Because, let me make this plain right now. A lot of people that are close to me, friends and relatives and et cetera, have sworn to me that they would never let me in the same place with Vince Russo at the same time again because they know that my temper would get the better of me. So they're never even going to let me in the same city as Vince Russo. And secondly, apparently Vince Russo will never ever come to me and knock on my door and say, hey, let's settle this, because according to the letter I got from these attorneys, Vince Russo is, and I quote, in extreme fear of me. And he mentioned his family also, like I'd threatened his family. His family is the innocent victims of genetics in this case, and it's not their fault that they're related to this abominable prick. But anyway, the point is, Cornette and Russo is going to go down in history just like Hulk Hogan and Steve Austin. One of those things everybody wanted to know what was going to happen, but it's never going to take place. And Cornette and Russo is going to be right up there in that pantheon of immortal matchups that never take place because people won't let me be around him, and he don't want none of me. So he ought to know. It's just that he's such a gutless coward that even when people talk bad about him, he naturally, instead of standing up as a man with a ball, just one ball, just if he had one ball, oh my God, I just wish he had one ball, but he don't. So it's never going to happen. And I didn't threaten to kill him. I said I wished he would die. I wish a lot of people would. I wish that people who molest children would die. But they don't. Seems like the pricks live to be 90 and the good folks, you know, I could think Brian Hildebrand and Canyon just recently, they go at an early age, but the pricks live forever. So anyway, the point is he took a personal email sent to a friend of mine for 30 years, trying to tell him that I had no ill will against him and his other co-workers because of this one asshole, and he made a big, apparently, federal case out of it. And TNA Wrestling, they've hurt my feelings because they think that Jim Cornette is going to be scared of a fucking legal letter. I got news for you. Until I commit an actual crime, or actually, until I even attempt to commit an actual crime, keep the fuck your nose out of my fucking business. I'm going to knock Vince Russo verbally, according to the facts, until I'm dead, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. And I ain't going to get scared by this. And you know what? They're trying to cost me money because, you know, Dixie's father has millions of dollars. They'll take me to court. How would it look, Tommy, if a multi-millionaire like Dixie Carter's father took poor old Jim Cornette, the most controversial man in the wrestling business who just speaks his mind, and according to what I hear from the fans at the fan fests and the shows and et cetera, they agree with me. How would it look if they took me to court because I said that Vince Russo was an abominable prick? How would that look? That wouldn't look too good. It would look like they were big bullies, right? And you know what the other thing is? Nobody would have ever heard about this. It was an email between me and my former friend of 30 years that I never said a word about, didn't send to anybody else. Nobody would have heard about it, except they want to make a big deal out of it. So, hold on. If you hear this sound, this is me wiping my ass with their legal letter. They got bigger problems. They need to figure out who murdered TNA Wrestling. Was it Mr. Bischoff in the kitchen with a knife? Was it Mr. Hogan in the garden with a lead pipe, or was it Colonel Russo in the drawing room with a candlestick? Who murdered TNA Wrestling? Don't fuck with Jim Cornette for writing a letter to a former friend of his that he thought was somebody that he needed to explain why he was verbally knocking TNA. Don't make a big deal like I'm stalking Vince Russo, like I'm circling the block in my fucking SUV trying to assassinate this guy. He's not worth the bullets it would take and the powder it would take to blow him to hell. I'm not going to do a thing to Vince Russo because Vince Russo's doing a good enough job of burying himself with the horse shit and the garbage that he puts on television every Monday night. So I just want to say my feelings are hurt. I've lost a friend, and I think that the whole thing is ridiculous. And if you want to read it verbatim, go to JimCornette.com. And one other promise, anything I hear about this from now on, and you know, and like I said, TNA Wrestling, they don't know me at all. All these years, they don't know me at all. Anything that I get in writing, anything that I hear about on the phone, I will have on tape. Anything I get on email, I will have copies of. And you can go to JimCornette.com or you can come right here to Cornette's Commentary and you'll hear it first. Because if I hear anything else about this matter from these people, it will be everywhere.
I guess you can call this the Nashville screw job.
Well, you know, actually, the thing is, at least when they screwed Bret Hart, he left and went to a job where he was making $1 million more a year than he was there. I just went home and actually am having more fun making no money from TNA Wrestling than I was from making almost six figures from TNA Wrestling for very little work just because I don't have to coexist with Vince Russo. So once again, Jim Cornette is not going to kill Vince Russo. Jim Cornette is not going to hunt Vince Russo down and beat him up. Vince Russo, with his lack of balls and lack of guts, is shaking somewhere in a closet because Jim Cornette has said that he's a miserable asshole, but Jim Cornette is not going to fucking do anything to Vince Russo. He's just a gutless prick, and I'm glad to share that with the wrestling community. He's not man enough to say anything to me, personally, but once again, just to make it clear for the Beverly Hills lawyers and the folks down in Nashville, you don't have to worry about Jim Cornette hurting Vince Russo because Vince Russo is doing a good enough job on his own of burying himself publicly in a professional manner without me having to play the stalker. What am I, the Zodiac Killer? Am I going to be written about in one of these nonfiction, real, true crime books? Or am I just going to say for the rest of my life that Vince Russo is the worst cancer and booker and shitty person that ever existed in the wrestling business? And imagine how much room that takes in. And last time I checked, in the United States of America, it's legal to have an opinion. Till the Republicans and these Tea Party fucks get finished with us, then it's only legal to have the opinion they want you to have. But right now, it's still legal to have an opinion. And my opinion is Vince Russo's a motherfucker. And you know what? Unfortunately, I guess I've been proven wrong about Terry Taylor. Everybody else that's talked to me for the last 10 years is right. Terry Taylor is apparently, pains me to say this, Tommy, a motherfucker too.
Well, there you have it. That's Jim Cornette's side of the story. And again, head over to JimCornette.com for the entire letter that he sent to Terry Taylor and also the letter from the TNA lawyer.
My little personal email to a friend for 30 years, and the response from this $500 an hour, maybe $1,000. What do you think they charge in Beverly Hills these days for lawyers? About $1,000 an hour, maybe?
At least $1,000.
Because they got, by the way, why a snake won't bite a lawyer?
Why is that?
Professional courtesy. You know what the difference is between a dead lawyer and a dead snake laying in the middle of the highway? There's skid marks in front of the snake. But anyway, basically, yeah, that's it, folks. So if I can't do the commentary next week, that means I guess I'll be in jail, but they can't put me in jail forever, and if they do, then whenever I get out, you'll hear it first. The first report will be live on Cornette's Commentary. Maybe we could even make that pay-per-view, Tommy. You never know.
You can always call me Collect, too, by the way.
I'll call you Collect. I know you'll come and bail me out. I know you'll be right there with me, Tommy, because you're not like Terry Taylor. You're not a fucking weasel. You're not a liar. You're not a con man. You're not a backstabber. You're not a guy that'll talk out of both sides of his neck. You're a true friend, Tommy, so you'll bail me out, right?
Absolutely.
Well, there you go.
All right, well, that has it, and I'm sure we'll be hearing a lot more about this next week here on Who's Slamming Who. And, again, head over to JimCornette.com for the late-breaking news on this situation. And, Jimmy, thank you very much for sharing your side of the story here on Who's Slamming Who, and we look forward to speaking to you next week. Well,
I hope I'll be here next week to speak to you. And just, by the way, just in case, email me. If anybody is stuck around for this whole long sordid saga, email me at jimcornette@jimcornette.com after you've read these missives and tell me your opinion. And I'm not going to yell at you. If you think they're right, let me know. If you think I'm right, let me know. If you think you got entertained by the whole thing, let me know. And also, if you're a registered legal attorney, let me know because I might need you.
All right. Jimmy, we'll talk to you next week. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tommy.
Take care.
Bye-bye.